I'm Ashton Addison from the Crypto Coin Show, and today on Blockchain Interviews with Motty Lavie, CEO and co-founder of Braavos. Motty, welcome to the show, and thanks for taking the time.
Thank you. Great to be here.
I'm excited to dive into the Braavos Wallet, the Starknet Ecosystem, which I've been very fond of in the past months. I'm excited for the growth of that. I'm interested in your insights into it, being deep in Starknet as well. And we can dive into all of that today. But I would love to start off our conversation together by first of all hearing a little bit about you, your background in blockchain and what led you to starting Braavos, and then we can dive into all the details.
Sure, we'll be happy to. I'm actually what you can call a latecomer to crypto. I'm spent most of the last decade in a company I co-founded, a classic Web 2 company, did everything from embedded software, cloud software, a lot of AI before AI was as popular as it is today. And only got into crypto, I think 2.5 years ago. I had the luxury of taking the time and studying the space. And it was clear. First of all, I fell in love, right at the beginning. But it was clear that from the Web 2 realm that I got in, there is a huge gap in terms of user experience. There are a lot of good things in crypto, but the user experience was needs a lot of improvement if we ever want to get to mass adoption. And maybe that's also the founding story beyond Braavos. We saw a few things coming together that can really allow us to improve dramatically the user experience in crypto.
I completely agree, and I feel like we're making huge strides in 2023, 24 with people starting to explore new blockchains and get more deeper into Web3, as it seems like the user experience is getting a little bit easier, more understandable, safer, that people can sort of venture into new things, or things have been around long enough that they're like, okay, I can dip my toes into this. So I'm curious a little bit about Braavos Wallet and sort of what inspired you to specifically go into this.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I think that if you come from from classic Web 2, you can see a huge gap in what users are used to in their everyday application and what they are being offered in what we call real crypto, self-custodial and decentralized crypto, as opposed to centralized crypto, which might be a good entry point, but it's not, it's not what crypto is all about. And me and my co-founder, we said, wow, this gap has to be closed. And luckily for us, we a few things came together at the right time that made us and still makes us believe that we are able to close that. And mainly that's cheap computation and the notion of something that is called account abstraction that maybe we can dive into a bit further in the conversation.
Definitely would love to dive into that. But I feel like before we get to that, there are a lot of people that have used the Starknet ecosystem and the blockchain. I've used it myself pretty thoroughly, but there are millions of people that are still using the centralized exchanges, or maybe they're just holding Bitcoin and Ethereum, and they've yet to dive into these other ecosystems. Maybe they haven't bridged their Ethereum to Starknet. Can you talk a little bit about the ecosystem, behind Braavos, why you chose that, and why should people experiment? What makes it so good that you decided to build on the Starknet ecosystem?
Yeah, so I told you that I had the luxury of taking the time and really studying the crypto space at large before diving in and starting building. And when I studied, I started with the different L1s and quickly came into the conclusion that Ethereum did the right trade-off, at least in my point of view, between decentralization, scalability, and security. So sacrificing scalability in order to get decentralization and security. And then went and see, okay, so what do we do with scalability? And back then there were three you can say solutions. One is sidechains, which was clear that it's not really a solution. And then there were rollups. There were the optimistic rollups and the ZK, or what you more accurately can call the validity rollups. And when I look at the optimistic rollup, it was somewhat obvious that that's at best intermediate solution, because that also has a very strong limitation on how much it can scale. And also the finality of optimistic rollups is something of a problem, which in current designs take up to a week, which is a very long time. And it was clear that validity rollups or ZK rollups are the future. Back then there were two main players. There was ZK Sync and Starknet, and Starknet was far advanced with battle-tested technology in terms of Stark proofs that already work in a product called STRK that were used by big protocols such as DYDX and ImmutableX and SoRare and RhinoFi and so forth. And Starknet took the Stark technology and built Starknet, which is a composable network. And it was a very good sign for us. The main caveat was that Starknet invented their own language, which is optimized for validity proofs. Unlike the entire, let's say, Ethereum ecosystem, or even more than the Ethereum ecosystem that uses Solidity and EVM, Starknet took a completely different approach. And for us, it was a concern. We weren't sure if it can work or not. So we did a little test project that became a very successful project, and just to make sure that it works. And then we said, oh, that's great. So Starknet offers us abundant computation, meaning we can do a lot of computation on the blockchain in a really cheap way. And Starknet had another gem in it, in which they took account abstraction, and maybe technical listeners can refer to it as EIP 4337, and baked it into the protocol. Meaning, we have on Starknet account abstraction baked into the protocol, and both of these things, like very cheap computation and abundant computation, together with account abstractions, allow us to bridge this gap that we saw in UX. And if you like, I can dive into why exactly that is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would love to learn a little bit more about account abstraction and why other blockchains are also starting to pick it up. And I feel like it's going to be the norm moving forward. Yeah,
so I completely agree. So for listeners that aren't familiar with account abstraction, account abstraction is basically what sits in the base of smart contract wallets. And the difference between traditional wallets like MetaMask and smart contract wallets is that traditional wallets are application only, meaning you have an application either as an extension on your browser or as an app on your phone. The application reflects the status of your account on the blockchain and allows you to sign transactions. But basically, everything happens on the client side, on the application side. Smart contract wallets actually have two sides. You can think of that as the application side, like all traditional wallets, and an account smart contract that sits on chain, and all of your transaction goes through this account smart contract. And this is extremely powerful now that we've divided the account into two parts, because it allows us to do two main things. One is to employ custom signature verification logic, meaning we are no longer bound to the signature scheme that was set by the blockchain. Mm-hmm. And the second, it allows us to bring an arbitrary execution logic, meaning we can add any logic that we want to each transaction that we issue from the account. And that's a whole new design space that we can bake into that practically whatever we want. And the beauty here is that we are not sacrificing neither decentralization nor self-custody. Mm-hmm. And that's really nice. And we can give a few examples of what exactly we can do with that.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate that explanation. And I think this is sort of the reason that the part of the reason that Braavos Wallet exists, and that you can't just connect Starknet into MetaMask. like you can with ZK Sync and some other chains. It's still using Ethereum, but you have to have a separate ecosystem where you're bridging the Ethereum over, whereas ZK Sync, Linea, you can just sort of switch the chain on MetaMask and it's easy to do, but you're not going to have that functionality, that granularity that you would in the Starknet ecosystem. Is that right?
Exactly. Since Starknet baked account abstraction into the protocol, it means that every wallet on account abstraction has to be a smart contract wallet. And all the apps, the entire ecosystem works with smart contract wallets. And having that from the get-go is very powerful because you don't have any compatibility issues like you might have in classic EVM chains that were reliant on what we call EOA, externally owned accounts, like MetaMask. And you can see that the entire Starknet ecosystem take advantage of that. And I can give maybe one or two classical examples so people will understand. If you take a swap in AMM, if you go to Uniswap on Ethereum L1, you need to first approve the AMM to use the token, and usually you approve for the maximum amount, meaning the AMM has the privilege, as the allowance to withdraw from your account whatever amount that it wants, and only after that, in the second and third transaction, you can actually do the swap. On Starknet with account abstraction, smart contract wallet, one of the basic features is multi-call, meaning you don't have to call in one transaction. You don't have to do a call to one contract, but you can do a call and another call. So you can combine this approve and swap in the same transaction and approve exactly the amount that you want to swap, and not give protocols infinite allowance into your wallet. So that's just a very small example of what can be done on Starknet, and dApps are utilizing that constantly.
No, that's a great example, Motty, and I think some people have fallen cursed to that original method of approving tokens. And yeah, say you want to trade $10 and then it approves $1 million that you had in your wallet, which then if you happen to get phishing attack later or something, that can be siphoned out, which is a big security issue. So
exactly.
That's a great explanation. I'm curious though, with dApps, DEXes, DeFi platforms like Uniswap, for example, it seems easy for them to be able to add other chains that are EVM compatible. Say on KyberSwap, they're adding ZK Sync when they already had Ethereum and Linea, but it might be a little bit harder for them to integrate the Starknet because of the extra functionality as well. Is that a barrier to adoption for some of the traditional DEXes that are the main go-tos right now? Or how much harder is it for these main applications to integrate Starknet?
So I think it's a blessing and a curse because it is a higher bar to integrate. Why is that? Because take Uniswap, for example, to move from Ethereum L1 to Arbitrum or to Optimism, it's just a click of a button because it's EVM. It's the Ethereum virtual machine with the same Solidity code. The same Solidity code which is already working and audited and debugged, etc., etc. To onboard Starknet, they will need to rewrite their entire code base from Solidity to Cairo and adjust it to the Cairo language and also to the Starknet powerful functionality. But that's heavy lifting. That's not like pushing a button. That's a lot of or maybe years of engineering work. So the barrier is definitely harder, but the plus side is that it allows for new protocols and new approaches to emerge on Starknet without the need to fight incumbents. And take Braavos, for example. That could be a classic example. MetaMask has over 80% market share on Ethereum L1. If a new startup like Braavos need to fight MetaMask, that's an extremely hard uphill battle. On the contrary, when we can build a user base and show the advantage of smart contract wallets without the need to do this uphill battle, then that's a good starting point in order for the entire ecosystem to evolve. Not only Starknet, because we can actually show what's possible. We can actually show what can be done with account abstraction, for example.
Mm-hmm. That's a great explanation, Motty. And maybe you can talk a little bit about the growth of the Starknet ecosystem and the partners or the connections that Braavos is making into new DEXes that have decided, hey, we're not Uniswap, we're not trying to rebuild everything. They're just going to make a whole new DEX altogether. Because it looks like, despite having a different language, all of this extra functionality has actually pushed a lot of developers to make new DEXes, new DeFi platforms that are built within Starknet. Do you have any numbers or connections to the partners and how fast the Starknet ecosystem is growing right now?
So in terms of developers, I think it's the fastest growing ecosystem by far, like by order of magnitude. More and more developers are coming to learn Cairo. More and more developers are experimenting with Cairo, trying to build a project in Cairo. And that's really great because we kind of came to Starknet at the very beginning. There weren't a lot of teams, like we knew everyone. And now to see the entire ecosystem growing, and not only growing but accelerating, that's really encouraging. And I think yes, definitely there are new AMMs that emerging. I told you about our initial projects, that just to kick the tires and check if we can work on Starknet. That was actually a basic constant product AMM back then. Which we built it just to see that we can build something on Starknet, and it became so popular that we launched that on mainnet, and then we upgrade that to a singleton concentrated liquidity type of AMM that takes advantage of the cheap computation that we have on Starknet to offer better quotes and better prices, etc. And there are a lot of such projects like in DeFi. Avenue is a prominent one, who is a price aggregator, gives user the best price which is available. There is Starknet ID, which is a great project on Starknet that also experimented with what you can do with on-chain name servers and profile pictures, etc., etc. So the fact that there are no incumbents, that's I think it's really it really opens the door for a lot of innovation.
I agree, and I think some of the early adopters of the Starknet ecosystem, they were just personally interested in testing out this new functionality, the account abstraction, and the speed, Cairo, the new language. But there was also some people that are incentivized to do so because of the potential airdrop of the Starknet coin, which may or may not happen in the near future. Who knows what's going on with that as well. And I know a lot of people have tried out Braavos and the other main Starknet wallet, and there may be more as well. When people go into Starknet for the first time, how do you help sway their opinion and like, hey, we should be choosing Braavos as the main primary wallet? Do you guys also have incentivizations, or how do people decide? What's that thought process in like, which wallet do I start using on Starknet?
So I think we approached from two different angles. So one, since Starknet is new and all the project is new, as we said, there is no Compound or Aave or Uniswap, etc. Then when people come, they don't know what they can experiment with. So what we did, we built the Starknet journey, which take users in a journey toward all the dApps. It monitors all your interaction with each and every dApp. It builds like a gamification of a professional score for you. How proficient are you on Starknet? And people really like that. Like they said this should be on any channel, on any network. So we can really see what we did, what we didn't do, new protocols that are coming that we can experiment, etc. So that's one thing. And the second thing is the core elements of the product. I think we brought a few innovations to the space which we are very proud of. There are gazillion wallets out there, but there are not gazillion smart contract wallets. And in the smart contract, product category, I think that we constantly try to explore uncharted territories. Mm-hmm. So we build and brought things like a true decentralized two-factor authentication, which you think about it, it doesn't exist in crypto. It exists in every mediocre Web 2 service. Even when I order food, when I go into settings, I need to have 2FA. But on crypto, you save millions and you don't have 2FA. Everything is eventually in this 12 or 24 word password. And that's as we said earlier, that can scale. Even if you think about hardware wallets like Ledger, etc., they eventually boil down to these 24 words that you need to save somewhere and hope for the best. And 2FA, this is something that this is one of the first account abstraction features that we brought. Then we top it up with three-factor authentication. Recently, we launched a passkey that user can use from the browser. All sorts of these innovation in around security. This is I think one cool thing that we did. Another cool thing that we are very proud of is that we democratized the ability to stake ETH. And why is that? If you think about that, when you go on L1 today and you want to stake ETH, if you use like a staking aggregator like Lido or Rocket Pool, etc., it costs you, depending on the gas price, but it can cost you $10, $20, $30 to deposit and the same amount approximately to withdraw. It makes the investment non-economically viable if you don't invest thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars, because the entire yield will go on the gas fee. And what we did, we utilized the fact that on Starknet, computation is really cheap. And we brought the concept of DeFi pooling, meaning we pool users' funds together on Starknet, and we ship them down as one transaction to Ethereum L1. Let's say stake the ETH in Lido, get the red stake ETH token, bridge it back to Starknet, distribute it to all the users such that they will have it liquid in their wallet. And the main benefit is that instead of paying the $20 transaction fee like you pay in L1, you pay 2 orders of magnitude less, like you pay 20 cents, 30 cents, and that's makes investments of the hundreds of dollars suddenly economically viable. So all such things that bring real value to users, I think they are appealing of, and one of the main reasons that users choose to try out and stick with Braavos.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree, and that's great to be lowering those barriers to entry for staking ETH or for trading. No longer should people have to pay more than $1. It should be cents to be able to do that. So that's great. Now, we don't have a lot of time left, Motty, but I'm curious if you can share any of your guys' plan for 2024. I feel like it's going to be a big year. It already is for Bitcoin, and that's trickling down into all over Web3. But how is the Braavos team going to continue to grow and hopefully the Starknet will be one of the most popular, it already is the fastest growing, but how are you guys going to keep up to the pace of the ecosystem growth for this year?
So we see that we have a lot of work ahead of us. If you remember, we want to close the gap between the Web 2 and Web 3. We call it bring a Web 2 experience, but with Web 3 values, meaning without compromising decentralization and self-custody. And for that, we still have a lot to do. We want to get rid of the seed phrase completely, and which I think it will be a major milestone in the industry. So again, not sacrificing decentralization, not sacrificing self-custody, but no seed phrase, and having 2FA. So, it's we move to another level. And I think that what will enable many users that will hopefully join this cycle or will rejoin to, I call it, to graduate from centralized exchange solutions like Coinbase and Kraken if they are lucky, or Celsius and FTX if they are less lucky, into real self-custodial crypto. Because the fact that they opt into the centralized solutions, it's the problem of the industry, because the decentralized self-custodial solutions are extremely complex. They are extremely unfriendly. And as I said, our goal is to close this gap and to enable this new wave of users to opt into real crypto and not stay on the centralized side.
Mm-hmm. And what is the best way for people to join that Braavos journey or follow along with these updates as you guys continue to grow this year?
So you can follow us on Twitter. We are constantly posting a lot of interesting stuff. Just last week we did a nice capture the flag initiative in which we put a wallet with 150,000 USDC and gave the seed phrase to the entire Twitter community to see if they can hack that. So of course, numerous people have downloaded the Braavos, recovered the wallet, saw the high balance on their app or on their computer, but couldn't do anything because they didn't have the 2FA. and that was for many people, that was quite mind-boggling. So Twitter is a great place. We also constantly post things on our website and new blogs, which are both technical and more light. So whatever fits each audience, you can find it there. And of course, I think the main thing is just download Braavos and try it for yourself on any platform that you want.
Sounds great, Marty. Thank you so much for the time. I'll leave the links in the show notes for the Braavos wallet, the Twitter, and the other docs for those that are interested in learning more. Appreciate your insights into the Starknet ecosystem. All the best with Braavos moving forward into 2024, and let's follow up in the near future.
Excellent. Thank you, Ashton. It was a pleasure.